It was the month of August 2014, and for over 12 hours now, I had been walking to reach my base camp on the snow clad mountains of Srikhand Kailash. I was at an altitude of 16,500 feet, and with every step that I took, I was anxious to reach my 18-year-old daughter, who was alone and definitely worried. We had started trekking 3 days ago, and the climb so far had been treacherous, yet insanely beautiful. Almost 80% of the people who had started the trek with us had either gone back or were sick. A few of us carried on. Early in the afternoon that day, I had volunteered to stop back to help a fellow trekker, a young girl who was struggling to breathe. She had the onset of hypothermia. I instructed my daughter, who was also feeling very weak, to go ahead while I found a secure place for this girl to stay back. Locals who were trekking with us convinced me that it wasn't a good idea to stop since the sun would set and the mountains become dangerous when they become dark. After settling this girl in about an hour later, I was well on my way towards Parvati Sarovar, which was the third base camp before we submitted the Srikhand Kailash that stood at a whooping 18,750 feet early the next day. Confident that I would catch up with the girls in a matter of 2 or 3 hours max, given that I'm a slow trekker, I continued trekking uphill with my mountain stick through slippery glaciers and streams. The blazing sun had now started to mellow, with hues of orange, red, and pink painting the skies that were laid out like a huge canvas above me. The greenery had disappeared long ago, and one could only see thorny shrubs, snow, and rocky mountains everywhere. It quickly dawned upon me that I was trekking too slow. The locals who had been walking alongside me had now gone far ahead. Even worse, I had my torch, raincoat, snacks, and my water bottle in my daughter's haversack. Angry at myself, I started to trek faster into the mountains, hoping to find someone to seek help from. Soon it was dark, and I had been doing this alone for over 6 hours. I was suddenly panicking and shivering and feeling weak. All I wanted was to just lie down then and there because I had lost all mental and physical strength to move any further. The effects of cold, darkness, and loneliness were slowly setting in. I had to cross over 11 snowy glaciers that I could see in front of me, even in that dark. I knew that one misstep could lead to a very fatal fall and probably cost me my life. I broke down and started crying profusely. In that state of sheer fatigue and helplessness, I spoke to the one and only one who could hear me, God. I told him that if I had to die here like this, he must make it very easy for me, or he must protect my child if I had to go, or he should help me out of the situation. So they were the list of conditions that I gave God. But all I could hear was an eerie silence, the wind whispering some weird sounds into my ears. I was extremely helpless. I did not know what to do. And suddenly, out of nowhere, a young shepherd boy, about 10 or 11 years old, tapped on my right shoulder. I had just finished my helpless tirade and was ready to surrender and let the forces of nature take over. He asked me what I was doing here alone at this time. I continued crying, which is what I was doing, and narrated my story to him. He smiled and told me not to worry and that he would happily help me reach the camp as soon as possible. My heart skipped a beat. My mind became silent. My eyes welled up, and a strange sense of eternal peace took over. It was at that instant that I felt my mind change. I saw my mood getting uplifted, and I could sense an elevated vibration in the way I felt. Thus, on that full moon night in the middle of the Himalayas, with nothing but my walking stick and a thin jacket, I trekked with a young shepherd boy who, through very many glaciers, walked me, 13 in all. I ran to hug my daughter after this ordeal, who had been crying uncontrollably at this time. She brought this joy that I had never ever seen before. She thought I would never have made it. And she said that one more hour, mom, if you were not here, there would have been a team sent to look for your body. After all the conundrum, maybe about an hour, we dashed to find my little savior, to thank him profusely, but he wasn't there. He was nowhere to be seen, nowhere to be found. Nobody had seen him. Nobody knew who he was. He had saved my life and vanished. This experience taught me that magic exists where there is surrender. It taught me how to turn despair into strength with just a little bit of faith. It showed me how courage can help one understand life more dearly, more deeply. It taught me that a positive mindset can actually be translated into real life as luck. This one incident allowed me to find God everywhere and in everything. To become resilient, the only alchemy you really need is that of being mindfully cognizant of your own self. You need to be cognizant of the situation of society, and life teaches us these valuable lessons through the people we meet, the circumstances that we face, and the emotions that we go through. Everything in this world is not just sorrow. There is a deep sense of hidden joy and magic and mystery in all the tough situations that you're going through, even today. To that little exam that you did not pass, to that little hope of getting in that circle that you wanted to and you could not, to that little money that you missed making, there is a crack. And just like what was explained, from that crack emerges the light. I believe that happiness has nothing to do with what you think and what you believe and how you feel and who you're surrounded by, but happiness is in knowing to flow, just like the river, which just flows, which does not become stagnant because it is not sitting in one place. It is not collecting dirt. It is not collecting dust. It is not blocking you, boxing you, and judging you. Once you learn to flow like the river, life happens. And that's exactly what the alchemy to take on anything that comes into your life really is. For me, one of my biggest issues that happened in my life is when I lost my brother, very, very close to me. He was working with the beggar children of Bangalore and had associated with teachers from UNICEF who volunteered to come to India and help the rehabilitation process. All of 24, he went on a small picnic with these teachers to Hampi. We were living in Bangalore at that time, and we received a news that he was missing. He had fallen into a whirlpool. I was heavily pregnant with my second child, and the emotional turmoil I was going through was unbearable. But when I saw my mother and when I saw my father, who had lost their only child, I controlled myself. It has been 25 years. We still have not found his body. My sister and I lost my father, and even today, I see my mother praying for a miracle. Another low came when I was diagnosed with cancer twice. My personal experience with bad physical health ranged from multiple miscarriages to hypothyroid, eczema, severe urticaria, painful throat infections that you cannot even imagine, and severely herniated slip discs many times. All of this while I was taking care of three beautiful children who needed my time and my attention. And I had somehow gotten used to being sick, sad, and dependent. This was a decade of suffering, and I had accepted it as my karma. But when I was diagnosed with uterine cancer in 2004, I was just 31 years of age, and something in me suddenly woke up. And instead of drowning deeper into self pity, I prepared for a war between my mind and my body. I knew that healing myself had become my top priority. I went through surgery and radiation very bravely and accepted the change my body was going through. I had become weak, my skin was dull and sore, and my hair, which was my pride, had begun to recede. My metabolism was weak, and there seemed to be no will left in me to do anything. It was my children who gave me the silent resilience to get up and move. Ironically, my motherly instincts helped me focus on myself first. And I think it's a very strong statement that most mothers need to understand. This resilience was what that helped me climb out the cocoon that I had made myself, in which I used to be very sad, very pitiable, and lonely at all times. We often get boggled down by societal pressures and expectations from family, society, or social media that creates unnecessary stress. It was not easy for me to reach this point because I was always judged and gossiped about simply because I was kind. And I'm sure a lot of you have gone through that. A lot of you have experienced that your good intentions are not being reciprocated very well. And then you suddenly do all the unnecessary things to start to fit in. What I did was exactly the same. But after my cancer, there was some sort of a wisdom that came from the heavens, and I learned to look within. I was humiliated. I was targeted by my closest friends, people whom I had trusted, people who I was socializing with. And my story is no different than yours. We all have gone through this kind of humiliation, disdainment, and gossipry that has, in many ways, fractured our confidence. Someone once told me that great storms come to help you. So, if there are great storms that are happening in your life, trust me, they are removing all the unwanted weeds that are around you, lifting you up so that you can build something much more stronger. Once you accept the fact that people hold a different version of you in their mind, there will be no conflict, thus, no stress. A strong support system of friends, family, or a community goes a long way in helping you take up all the challenges. By having said that, I have personally come to believe that the minute you focus on what is inside of you, the outside of you generally starts to take care of itself. I have learned that to live a peaceful life, you must learn the technique of using every pain that you have experienced to fuel positivity. It's easier said than done, but it's not difficult. Developing small personal rituals to find strength every day helped me tremendously. So I started to journal, I started to water plants, I started to watch the sparrows and the parrots, I started to grow a lot of vegetables. These rituals actually helped me ground and become more confident about myself. I was diagnosed with breast cancer again in 2009, and it was my wisdom to cure it using techniques that aligned with nature. I found a naturopath who descended as God from heavens and helped me heal from within. It was this final straw with my health that held my hand, my mind, and my spirit to travel to the Himalayas. This journey helped me engage in mindfulness through meditation and journaling that in turn equipped me to process my emotions more efficiently. I was introduced to the magical world of yoga and pranayam that became my catalyst of change. I have learned age old techniques of well being from teachers and co travelers and understood that every single person who crosses your path is here to teach you something.
That attitude opened up a paradigm of feelings for me. I started to become very cognizant of the fact that you and I are no different. Your experiences and my experiences are exactly the same, only at an altered time. What you feel is what I feel. What you cry about is what I cry about. The only difference is that I have learned to recognize that there is no difference between you and me, while you probably are still wondering why we are so different. Resilience is all to do about connecting yourself with this universe, understanding that even poison is very important to get rid of poison in your body. It is very important to understand that if you have a fertile land, you will not be able to grow a fertile crop if your seed does not break and erupt. It is very important to understand that life's challenges are not only yours, but it is for every single person. I believe that these experiences should strengthen you instead of weighing you down. I believe that a state of happiness comes when you start accepting hardship as a state of flow. I believe that with strength comes responsibility. With responsibility comes more responsibility because you are out there setting an example. Today, my children proudly join me in this exciting journey, honoring all the struggles that I've had, and they are carrying the baton forward of struggle and of achievement. The flame of hope and hard work will pass on to every single person who's connected with you, given you if you are ready to share that flame of torch with them. It is about adapting to the changes of life, about being empathetic, about creating, about cherishing every single thing. Even in the face of death, there is this hope that there is going to be another birth. Nothing ends. Life is cyclical. Everything just keeps moving. And if you don't catch up, you will be left behind. And if you're left behind, you are the one who has to come back and start all over again and go through this process of pain and of tears. So let's embrace every single challenge that we have, every wound, every broken heart, every financial loss, every single person whom we've lost, because we are just going to catch up with all of them again. This, friends, according to me, is the alchemy of resilience. Thank you so much.